All right, everybody. Thank you so much for dialing in or zooming in, or I don't ever really know what this is, but this is our fifth recording of the whole Platinum Mentoring series, and it has been so fun. I've really enjoyed connecting with Trisha on this, and been fortunate to have our incredible Millionaire Platinum upline just pour their heart and souls into us over the last 5 weeks, and we've learned so much. I mean, there's just pages and pages of notes from Cindy and from Janny and from Betsy and from Tracy, and it's just been so, so, so fun. And tonight, we really just wanted to have a panel for you guys because I think that we all know we learn differently from other people, and there's people that we resonate with differently than others. And to have you ask questions, either if you want to type in the chat or unmute and kind of ask, and then just like when you've been to an event, and you'll hear different people answer it. We want to hear it. And you probably won't get, 5 or 6 answers, each time. There'll be one that Cindy will want to take, or there might be one that Trisha will take, or one that I'll take, or Tracy, or maybe we'll, feed off of each other a little bit. But I would get your pen and paper ready because this is really the raw and the realness and where the goods usually come, because it's exactly what all of us have done. And I think that when you think about questions, I'll just throw a few out there, but people will ask, about certain objections. What is it that we say, how we overcome that? If there was something that we could go differently, what would we do differently? What's the number one tip of advice you have for something, or whatever that may be? And there's no right, you guys. There's no wrong question. There's no good. There's no bad. There's just a lot of transparency and vulnerability, and we'll be honest with you. And just what is it that you want to know most that we can help you with tonight? So that being said, I'm going to just mute my line unless for some reason I'm asked a question or want to chime in, and just feel free to unmute your line and dive in with a question. And of course, you are welcome to type it in chat as well.
Hey, Lauren, it's Meg. I'm going to just jump in since you suggested I ask a question on the call, so I'm going to. So I have been practicing my 30-second story, and I know it's about getting back to the basics, but I honestly just haven't used it a lot. I did end up using it on a call yesterday with a gal, but I generally, when I'm on the phone with someone, I finally have them on the phone, so I just chat with them. So I wanted to know where you all are utilizing the 30-second story, and also where I can coach my teams to use their stories.
Tracy, you want to take it since you were the one that trained on that? You're muted.
Sorry. Okay, that's a great question. And because we go to work to complicate what this whole 30-second story deal is, it's when you are talking or running into somebody casually, or somebody wants to know, like you are on the phone with them. And this is what I did in the beginning. I'd finally get somebody on the phone with me, and I would be so excited, and then I would verbally vomit, and next thing you know, an hour is gone, and I was like, holy crap, how am I going to do this over and over and over again if I just spent an hour with one person? And so basically, when you have them on the phone, they've obviously noticed something about you or somebody else within a health page or something that they want more information. And if you get them on the phone, because that conversation is never about you. It's never about you or your story. So you can just say, I'll just share my experience with you. And after I do, I would love to hear what it is you want to know more about. And so then you go, before Isogenics, I was blah, 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 blah. And because that phone call is about helping them, it isn't about your story or your experience. Because honestly, they don't care. They cared enough for them to ask you about what it is you're doing. But after that, your story doesn't mean anything. And I know that sounds cold, but that's how you're going to duplicate to an empire. That's how you're going to have people that get on the phone with you being like, once they have a really good product experience, go, oh my gosh, all she said was like, before Isogenics, I was this. It wasn't like explaining what's in the products. It isn't going into detail about what a cleanse is. It's just your heartfelt experience in a very short period. And then the door is open for them to ask any questions. And, before you get off the call, try and keep those calls to 15 minutes, not an hour, because you can't duplicate and build an empire doing hour-long calls. And that was a big mistake I made in the beginning. And so I had to shorten my story, because once I realized that nobody cared about my story, they only care about their own, it really is having a short and sweet template that anybody can use, no matter what their story, no matter what their experience is in isogenics, and giving them the forum to just ask whatever they want. And that'll keep your conversations a lot shorter.
Can I pipe in too?
Yeah, I want you too.
I love, the isogenicsbusiness.com under the tools. It teaches you how to do a 30-second story. And it seems so simple, but it really works. And David Wood, at the University in Actions, he makes us do this over and over and over again. And he basically calls us master story collectors. And what I love about that is as I'm talking to you, or I'm talking to Tracy or Cindy or Lauren or Betsy or anybody, I can collect their stories, and I can put them at a moment's notice, because I've practiced so many times, at a moment's notice, depending on what that person needs, what they said that triggered a story, I can pull out of my, my tool bag, I can pull out that 30-second story. And it's so easy to intertwine my story and then throw in something that maybe Tracy relates, Tracy would relate to her story, and I can throw in that. And it works so well. And in fact, on my phone, when I meet new people in isogenics and I hear their stories and we have a good connection, I'll take a picture of them, and as their contact, I'll put, Joe Schmo, isogenics, and then weight loss. And I'll use those stories. I'll call him, I'll use him for 3-way calls, or that makes sense. So just become a master story collector.
I love it. And I'll add something to that. Both of what they just said is fantastic. And the thing that I would add to that is the reason that we create that template is it's kind of like a roadmap. It just gives you a place of security, so you always know kind of what you come back to. So just kind of know like what your goals are when you get on the phone with somebody. You really want, just like Tracy said, you want to know what they need. What is it that they're looking to have help with? And I ask people, Susie, I'm so excited to be on the phone with you today. I've heard so many amazing things about you, and I will love to share anything you want to know about isogenics. But before I share kind of my own experience, I would love to know from you, if isogenics could do anything for you, what would it be? And then I just let them talk about what their goals are, if they're tired, what weight, whatever. And then in the back of my mind, I'm just like listening to everything they're saying and finding like benefits and features of isogenics and the way that we can meet those needs. And then after they share it, I'll be like, oh my gosh, Susie, you've just shared all these things. I'm so excited for you because I know isogenics is going to be amazing for you. Would it be okay if I share with you how I got started with isogenics and what it did for me? They always say yes. And then I will tell my quick 30-second story. And I mean, it's different. I make it kind of tailor it to like the needs that they had. And so they see that commonality. It's creating trust. It's creating a bond. I had success. They can have success too. And so it's just a place to start to kind of build their belief and build the value, because that's the biggest thing that we're doing with people with isogenics is building the value of what isogenics has to offer them and the solutions that it can offer them in their life. So that really is the goal of the 30-second story. And just like Tricia just said, David will have us do several different, like a business testimony, a weight loss testimony, energy, a performance testimony, of this, of that, or whatever. Not like you have to follow that rigid script. It's just a place to start with your new people to give them a comfortable little, story they can tell. And as you become a master of that story, you can just kind of interweave it into exactly what they need, keep it brief, let it be focused on their goals, how isogenics met those same goals that they have in your life, and then move them forward into, getting them started.
I think that all of that is super, super, super fabulous. Megan, just because I know you messaged me and I sponsored you, I just want to tap on what Cindy said about having a variety of stories, that you don't just have one, and so not that you're ever being disingenuous, but based on those people's needs and their whys and goals. Like, I'm not going to talk about my weight loss story, right? If this person's coming in for the business, I'm going to talk about my business story, and vice versa. If they're like an energy person, I'm going to talk about my coffee story and not my, I ran to 2-star in 2 months story. And so figuring out who that is and why that is. I think a lot of people have answered this, that for sure it's on a call, when a three-way call, it's the best way to just kind of validate why you're on that call and then roll into why it's all about them. But I know a lot of people use it when they're out in the cold market prospecting too. When you hear something in the dressing room or at a coffee shop, it's just really easy to say, I don't mean to eavesdrop on your conversation, but I heard what you said. And before I was introduced to this amazing program, I used to feel the exact same way. I really believe other people should feel the same way. I'd love to connect with you. And you might skip over some of those parts, but again, it's that format that you're not going to do that whole verbal vomit. So Megan, I think for you specifically, it's three-way calls. For sure at Super Saturday or opportunity meetings, launch parties, when you have other people come up and give their testimonials, like at Wind Down, when people come up, they followed the 30-second story. It's compliant, it's short, it's brief, it's succinct. So that's a good place to use it. And then to definitely, when you're just out kind of connecting with people. So I have a text, Jenny, did you want to say anything? Otherwise, I have a text message of a question.
Yeah, I did really quick. I just wanted to tell you guys that there's that whole thing with neuro-linguistic programming where, how I told you guys that people really let down when you say, well, can I tell you my story? Before I we talk about this, can I tell you what happened to me? And people automatically relax into that story. They don't feel like they're being sold. The walls all go down. And so I've been using the word imagine a lot, because once they've told you your goals, so Lauren, what are your goals? What are you hoping that Isagenix can do for you?
Are you really asking me right now?
Mm-hmm. Like if you're brand new and I was just talking to you.
Oh, I would love to get out of my jobs that I'm exchanging time for money. I want to work for myself when I want.
Yeah. So I'd say, oh my gosh, I totally hear what you're saying. Can you imagine what it would be like if you could take a vacation and not have to worry and stress when you're on vacation about how you're going to pay for it and how your income is going to be affected? Can you imagine, if you were not strung out on 3 different jobs, but you actually had time to pursue the things that you're passionate about, like working out and cooking and just getting to relax with some friends. I mean, can you imagine what your life would be like if you didn't have those things to be stressing out about?
Oh my gosh, it'd be amazing.
That was amazing.
So you guys, that word imagine is powerful, because it takes that person to that place where, and after you've heard their goals, you literally kind of spit them back out and just say, and use that word imagine. It's neuro-linguistic programming. It's powerful, because people will then move into that place where they can actually feel and see and imagine what those goals are like once they hit them. So that's part of my theory that I do. I really ask people, questions after they've told me their goals, but also I think it's really important to say people love to be heard, known, and understood. So I love to say, I totally hear what you're saying. And then I go into imagine, but people love to feel heard. So it's important.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. There had been a message that was chatted. It said, I would love for these beautiful and successful women to share how they invite and continue to invite people to launch parties, and how do you throw them? So I'm going to throw that at Cindy first, because I think you're the tasting party queen, and then we can chime in from there.
Well, I don't know about that, but we did tasting parties successfully for over 2 years, almost 3 years actually, every night or every week at our home, and had a lot of fun doing that. I have not actually done a lot of them lately. So the inviting process of that can be, everything I do, I make it really casual, really low key, and just when I'm out talking to somebody, and I'm intentional obviously about doing that. But I would just, if I was talking to them and I just met them or I was reaching out to friends or whatever, I would just tell them, hey, you know what, this week at my house at so-and-so night, blah, 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 we're just going to have a group of people to get together. I'm going to be making some product, like making some shakes, and everybody's tasting everything. It's a blast. Why don't you come by? And I'd love to go through kind of the benefits of Isagenix. You ask me all the time, like what I'm doing. Come see for yourself. You'll love it. That's kind of how I do it. It's nothing formal. I don't use like little invitations. I don't hand out cards. All of those things are effective, but I just keep it really informal. Again, guys, in this business, this is a relationship business. And like they say all the time, Isagenix is like a personal development plan with a compensation plan. And so the better that you get just being comfortable in your own skin, being authentically you, and you're just out and about and you're just, like the girls just said, just enjoying, like Tricia said, like collecting stories, enjoying just meeting people, connecting with people. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. What are you doing? I'm doing something I'm so excited about. I want you to totally come and check it out this week, at my house on Wednesday night. What are you doing Wednesday night? Do you have an hour? You should come check out what I'm doing. It's amazing. Just your passion, your energy, and your excitement will get people there. And then how do you do it? You make it fun. They show up and it's fun. You've got a lot of food out. You've got some music playing. You've got a lot of people in the room. A lot of the times we would start the tasting party in the kitchen. We'd already be talking about stuff. Everybody's like in there. It's like a cocktail party. Honest and true, girls, the reason that we stopped doing them every week is because every week we had people here till midnight, and my husband was like, honey, we can't throw like a big party every week with people here till midnight. That's not productive for our business. I was having a lot of fun, but we had to change it up. So that was what happened. But I'm telling you, we made it a lot of fun, and it was a place people love to connect. People love community, and that's what we're creating. We're connecting people, creating a community, having fun, meeting needs, giving them hope, building belief. That's what those events are about.
And you guys, if I would say one thing, it would be that when you make it short and you can tell them, we're going to be in and out in 45 minutes to an hour, people will come by, because even 35 minutes, would love to have you stop by after work. I'm just gathering a couple of friends. We're just going to kind of go through the products and check them out. I would love to have you come by and just and learn more. But people will follow people who are excited. And so much of, I think what really kept me in the game through this whole journey is Cindy, because I loved being around her and she was fun. And I remember just thinking, I wanted her in my life. And we had such a great time together. And when you're engaging, you're fun, and it sounds like it's going to be great and short and fabulous and fun, people will follow you, because people will follow people who are excited, because so many people are dragging through life. And if you just look at the faces of people when you're walking through an airport, when you're walking through a store, look at people's faces. There are very few people who are lit up and whose eyes are bright, and people who are happy about life and what they're doing. So if you're bringing that energy, because people are buying you. I bought Cindy. I loved being around her. I loved what she was doing, and I felt so supported and so loved. And so I just thought, if she just kind of pulled me along with her. And when you just tell people, I'm running with this, I'm going to take it to the top, and I want to take you with me, people will follow people who are sold out, convicted, and know where they're going. So there you go.
If I could add on to that, both of them are exactly right. It's the posture. If you're feeling weird about asking people, they're going to feel weird about coming to wherever you're asking them to go. And it's about your posture. And, I was fired out of a cannon. I had no idea what the heck I was doing, but I was excited and passionate. And people were like, I don't care what it is you're doing, but I want to be around you because it's exciting and it's fun. And they're missing that in their life, like Janny said. And you want it when you get them to your house. You do want to keep it short and sweet and duplicatable, because you want people that are sitting there, even if right now they're not thinking about it because they just want to feel better. But, for me, it only took 4 days where all of a sudden the light bulb went out. I was like, okay, I'm not going to shut up about this. Now, how do I maximize this compensation plan? And it is the launch parties, and we have a launch party kit. You have some videos. You get 2 people with you that, that you love or that are already doing this. Have them share their 30-second story. Have them share their 30-second story. Boom, you taste some shakes. They're out. You hand them enrollment forms. You get excited. We're like, woohoo, we're all doing this together. And the next thing you know, you've got a slew of people that are all fired up, and it's duplicatable. You don't want people at your house till midnight, because people will be sitting there like, I don't want to open up my house and have people here till midnight.
I want to clarify that, because the girls are right. The presentation can't be more than an hour, and it never was, but it's like, it does become so much fun, and then they just stay and stay and stay, and that's the thing. But yeah, you don't want to have people at your house till midnight, even though it's fun.
It is.
So there was a message on chat, a question. I want to tell you guys one thing Laura Stevens told me when she was here for our Super Saturday about launch parties. Someone said you invite the same people over and over. I mean, I do, but not like I'm hounding them. Like if they don't seem interested or something, I'm not. But if they're like, oh my gosh, I totally wanted to come, but little Johnny got sick, or oh, I got stuck in traffic, I'm like, hey, just we've got another tasting party. Like maybe this timing works better for you. Or I mean, I don't like forget about them that they don't come. I mean, I think in the 4 agreements we always talk about never take anything personally. Like they're not saying no to you. Isogenics just isn't a priority in their life yet, like it may be for us. But when Laura Stevens was here and she was traveling so much and all of her launch parties were so full, I asked her, I said, how are you filling all of those? Like, how are you getting your team to do that? And she uses Facebook Graph. She does create a little flyer or invite, like a little, whatever, PDF of some sort. And she uses Facebook Graph and types in like people in, like when she did one in Oregon, people in Bend, Oregon, or she was somewhere in Nebraska, like people in Omaha, Nebraska, or wherever she was, right? And it populates this, and she starts sending out that flyer of like, hey, I saw you're in the area. This is something I'm really excited about. If you'd love to come, there's a free tasting this night. And it was usually in public places, not in her home. They rented out library rooms or like hotel conference rooms or something. But so many people came and attended it because there was something creative on the flyer. Someone saw something that was like, I want to lose weight. I want to have more energy. I want to make more money. They probably clicked on her Facebook, and she's branded herself so successfully that once they were like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know what this is, but she looks like she's having a good time. She looks amazing. A lot of her posts are probably public. She had a really good turnout. And so I just want to share that with a lot of you. I know you probably don't want to necessarily have this Facebook flyer, people coming into your home of people you don't necessarily know. There's still some creepos out there, but if you're linking up with people and doing something at a hotel, it's something to consider. I thought it was really, really genius the way that she was expanding into the cold market. So one of the questions that we got was the importance of events. And I just talked about this on my team call, but I would love, Tracy, for you to kind of start that one. I mean, a lot of us know your story, but a lot of people do not. And specifically outside of the importance of the event in terms of getting trained and being 10 feet tall and bulletproof, the thing that corporate recognizes about you and that all of us recognize about you is that you go for other people. And when people say things like, well, no one in my team is going, or, I've already been to an event or something like that, about why it's so important for you in terms of like how you can be there for the new person or what you're learning and growing on that you can continue to come back and bless other people with.
That's awesome. Again, it goes back to people are going to do what you do, not what you say to do. And so if you're telling them events are so important, yet you're not there because you've already been to one, I mean, really, what does that say? It sets the expectation that, once you get to a certain level, you don't have to do this anymore. And going to events is one of the basics that really you need to keep doing because, I mean, let's be real. I mean, there are people in this business today that weren't there a year ago that are so inspiring and empowering. And I'm learning things from, people like Laura and, Lindsay and, people like that weren't even here a year ago or when I started. And, it's all about walking the walk you talk. And, I will talk it, but I will walk it. And, getting butts in the seats, like if I was just saying you needed to get to events and then I wasn't there, it pretty much is a load of crap. And I'm one of those that, I will never ask people to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. And then here's the thing, like it's because I've also had this conversation as far as events. If you become a professional event goer, yet you're not doing anything in your business, why don't you just call it what it is and call it a girls' weekend? Because that's really what you're doing. If you're not, and I've had this hard conversation with some of my good friends. I'm like, listen, I don't want you going away from your family. I don't want you, saying you're building this business to your husband if really what you're doing is getting away with the girlfriends. If you are not willing to get into action, don't go. And they're almost like they have the FOMO. They're like, well, crap, I want to be there. And I'm like, then you need to get into action. It's one thing to write it in your little notebook and then close it up and never look at it again. But I think so many times at these events, you hear these rock star leaders and you write down everything and then you try to do every single thing that you learned at an event all at once. And it's messy and it's confusing and then nobody responds and then you feel like you suck at life and then you do nothing. And, what I tell people when you get to an event, I want you to hold on to maybe 2 or 3 nuggets that you get in the weekend. or, you look for 2 or 3 things that resonate with you, that are, authentic to you. And then you take those and you make it your own, but you have to get into action. And, a lot of you guys have seen me at events. I am there scribbling notes. I'm not just there as a prop. I'm not just there to get recognition. I'm not there to be, have a girls' weekend. I'm there to work and learn and take in as much as I can. I learned something, because there have been moments where I'm like, I have 1 or 2 people in an event and I'm like, okay, God, I know you're going to show me why I'm here. And it's like, bam, right in my face. It's a story. It's a conversation in the hallway where somebody has heard my story and they come up to me and tell me how much it moved them into action. And that reminds me why I do what I do. And when you're staying in the trenches at those events, it reminds you why you started. It takes you back, because I think sometimes as we grow in our leadership, I don't, because I just don't, because it's the way I have to operate in my life. But I think sometimes we forget what it felt like to have $17 in our bank account or to be at rock bottom. And those events remind us, when we hear the stories, when we see the girl with the mascara on her face. Like, I will never, I searched those people. I was that girl. And that first event is why 24,000 people have followed me, because if I don't go to that event, they're not here because I'm not here. And, when you express how powerful they can be like that, and that it isn't a party time, yes, you can have fun at these events, but you're there to work. You're there to take everything you can and leave the rest. Leave what doesn't feel right for you, but you go, you learn, and then you get into massive action. You don't just close up the notebook and call it another event and hang up another badge. Who cares about that crap? Who cares? If you don't do something with what you learn, it's pointless. And I'm very adamant about that, obviously. So, that's really.
Can you see the colors coming out? We're like a full spectrum of a rainbow here.
I'm all of them. I'm all about having fun, but you got to be
right now. You're Midwest Michigan red mom. Get it done. That's done. Right. Or it's a load of crap. That's such a Midwestern.
Totally.
Hey, Cindy, can you add to that just about I almost wish Hillary Courtney was on right now to be able to answer this question, but how, as a mom, you had a lot of children, not just one, a lot of children, where that was in terms of what things of your kids were not negotiables you weren't going to miss, but what sacrifices maybe you missed, or how childcare worked for the things that you really needed to do to be able to come back and give them the life of abundance that they've had.
Right. So without question, guys, building this business, it's going to take sacrifice. It is. But I want you to think about it's in the short term. Even if it takes you 5 years, 6 years to build independence and abundance for your family. My kids don't remember what I missed. With so many children, there were so many events all the time. So, non-negotiables were like birthdays, big sporting events, like if they were somewhere going to state or something like that. Big things, but every day, every game. No, I didn't go to every baseball game, every basketball game, every volleyball game. I couldn't, I had to do the business. And I had a supportive husband too, that would be home with the kids when I did it. So it was hard. To tell you that it wasn't hard would be untrue. There were definitely times when I was standing in my driveway with tears running down my face because I had committed to something, not realizing that something else was happening. And I already made my commitment to that, and I had to explain that. But my kids were awesome, and they were open and willing. And today, everybody shares in the abundance that we've been able to create with Isogenics. We're so grateful for that. And in truth, they don't remember. They don't remember that I didn't make every single game. And, so you just got to kind of take that pressure off yourself, find out what the non-negotiables are for you, for your family, and then just go to work.
Danny, can you touch a teeny bit, or maybe even Trisha, just because this was your story too, but how when I was telling you I couldn't afford that, like how that wasn't an option, you know, and like how important it was, and you knew what that was going to be, like mapping that out. And there's just some people on here tonight, and we're really touching on this because there's people that are on the fence of like, can they make it to Dallas next week? That there are some people going, go to Dallas, you know, like whatever it takes. But what your advice is maybe on people that have a financial constraint. I mean, Trisha or Janny, chime in there.
Why don't you talk about that? Because your story is so powerful. It's amazing. I mean, it's good. I love it.
So, I mean, Trisha, you should probably tell this as well too. And then I have another question that just came through, just so you guys know. But and I first was getting started, and Janny was like, get to Kansas City, get to Kansas City, get to Kansas City. I didn't know what was in Kansas City, right? What I thought was like, this is so expensive. I can't afford that flight. I definitely can't afford a hotel room. Like, I can't miss days off of work. Like, this overwhelming feeling of stress of what the heck was in Kansas City was what I was focused on, why Janny was focused on my future. And when we go back to how she started this whole 30-second story with the NLP thing, she did that to me. I mean, she was like, imagine what your life is going to be like in 2014. Imagine when you're not driving in all that traffic at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, imagine if you don't have to teach every single group fitness class to get by. And I didn't necessarily know what was in Kansas City, but I started to think like what was on the other side. Like, if I didn't go, nothing was going to get better. But if I took a risk, right, and then this 48 hours, if all these imagined things could possibly happen, that was worth it. And fortunately, you know, thank goodness with this compensation plan, our double PIBs are amazing. And I was like, how much is it? What do I really need? And I had won a ticket. You know, Janny, I think, had run a contest in her group or something. So I was gifted a ticket. And then it was like flight. And I was like, okay, it's like a $400 flight. I mean, I have to sell 2 president's packs, you know, like if those double, like, I mean, that was the way that my mind worked. And I knew it was going to get loaded. And so a lot of times I'm on the phone with people right now trying to get you guys to go. And I'm like, I literally had no money, and I didn't have credit cards. Like, I had no money. Except I just had that burning desire, and I was up a lot of late nights and up a lot of early mornings making those calls to get the orders in order to have money on my card. Like, I literally remember checking into that hotel and it was like, please, please, please have money on that. Please, please. Like, if this doesn't swipe, like, I mean, that was like how I went, but it happened, and I would do it all over again 100 times if I had to. Trisha, do you want to share anything? Because I know you went in a similar position too.
Well, I kind of already shared my first event in Dallas, and you know, I wouldn't have been there without, you know, Tracy and my friend Barb getting me there and taking care of me, but not everybody has that. And so, you know, but since then, I have made so many sacrifices to go. I mean, I've gone to so many events like University in Actions and ICUs and all the celebrations at NYKO since then. Like, I go to everything. And the reason why I go is because that first event was so impactful. I mean, it changed everything for me. I mean, it touched my heart like I never thought something out of my church could touch me. And it helped me fly and realize that I was stuck in this box, and it opened my eyes to so much. And I want everybody that I know to have that same experience, you know? And so your first couple events, especially when you're going for the first time to a different event, right? One of the different core events, it really is about you, because you're going to learn so much. It's really about figuring it out and learning and growing. But after that, it becomes about everybody else. It becomes about how many people can I take to that next event? Because NYKO, my first year was week 5 in the company, was mind-blowing for me. And as I sat there in that chair, all I could think about was, man, I wish my sisters were here, my brother, my best friends, all I could think about was everybody else that had to be there and experience it with me. And so, you know, we had a huge group come to celebration, and it just gets getting bigger and bigger and bigger because everybody gets it. You have to get to an event, you know, and a part of it from a business standpoint, you know, a part of it is that so many of us are stuck in just remote areas. You know, I know Becky had a question about, you know, having parties when it's a small place and there's not a lot of people showing up. You know, so many of us are in small places, and so we think about network marketing and we don't really get it. We think, oh, it's just me and Trisha and she's this crazy lady. But then you go to an event and you're like, wow, there's like 14,000 people that love this. This is crazy. You know what I mean? And you get around and absorb in that energy, and you're like, oh, the chains come off, the box goes away, and you realize I can dream. I can think big. If these guys can do it, so can I, right? So, I mean, for me, it's just, you have to do it. If I could just say one thing really quickly to Becky, is that all right?
Yeah, go.
Okay, so
we have approval for.
Well, you know, there's better people on here to talk, but you know, Becky she mentioned, you know, when she doesn't have a lot of people coming, or maybe it's just her by herself. So I learned a really important lesson from Eric Coover my first year. So I did a launch party for the START group out here, and I asked him to come, and because our company is so incredible, he was like, yeah, what time? I'll be there. And here I am, this newbie, and he comes to my launch party, right? And so he shows up, and I had like, you know, 50 chairs or so set out, and I was freaking out. I was sitting here going, I'm wasting his time. What if nobody shows up? Like, I can't have like Eric Coover at my launch party, nobody shows up, you know? And so I was freaking out, and he looked at me and said, Trisha, calm down. Like, if it's just us, the right people have showed up, you know? And he's like, if one person shows up, the right person showed up. And so, you know, I know for a fact that I've done launch parties where I was the only person. I know Tracy used to practice on her cat, you know, you know? And so what I learned from that is just make it the best launch party, regardless of who shows up, and practice and just keep working, keep inviting, and take all those, you know, obviously those tips that everybody else shared, take those and really apply them.
That is so perfect. I did a launch party right before the holidays, and no one in Denver showed up, but we were going to Zoom in, and I had all these people like remote that dialed in, and our room was empty. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to talk to the computer. Like, letting that called in. Like,
you have like dummies and pretend people, you know, music.
Okay, so Tracy, when you were talking about part of the events, I lost part of the story, but the comment is basically saying, when Tracy said, when you find that nobody's responding to you and you suck at life, right? A lot of people are in that spot. Like, how do you deal with that? You know, when people aren't getting back to you by text, by email, by Facebook, whatever, how are you keeping your spirits up and handling those people and moving forward?
I know that I was given a blessing in Isogenics, and maybe they just aren't ready to receive that blessing yet. It doesn't mean I give up on them. You know, that just means there's somebody else out there that needs what we have. And I knew from day 4, and especially after that first event 5 weeks in as well, when I met Betsy Frame and I met Cindy Hedges, I knew that I was going to do this until I took my last breath. And if somebody didn't respond to me, I mean, I think about, and this is again where we need to remember where we came from. Most people on this call were probably skeptical, avoided the person that enrolled them, didn't want to talk about it. For me, I was a huge isolator. I'm an introvert, believe it or not. And I wanted to stay private, and I don't want to talk to anybody. That's how I was feeling when I started Isogenics. And so when people are doing that, I don't take it personal, because it isn't about me. And it's maybe they're not in a good spot in their life. And, you know, what I'll usually do, if they're not responding to text messages or whatever, you know, I'll make a little note in my phone or something. And, you know, a week later, just send them a private message or a text message to say, you know what, I was just thinking about you today. You were on my heart. I hope you have a beautiful day. End of story. And, you know, it keeps that weirdness away, because sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, it's that weird network marketer. She's going to try and sell me shakes out of her car or whatever. But knowing that it's never about you and it's not personal, and they're just not ready yet. And the door is always open. You're leading with love and grace with everything that you do. You're not trying to get them for a PIB or, you know, to rank against your business. You know, you're truly, as long as you truly are loving and serving and caring for people, you will never take that personal. You will never take it personal, because it's about them. And you leave that door open. You let them know, hey, guess what? I get you're maybe in a weird spot in your life, but I want to tell you something. And I had this conversation over and over and over in the very beginning when I didn't even know what I was doing. These were my exact words. Listen, I understand maybe now's not the right time for you for whatever reason. I said, that's awesome. I totally get that, because if this had come into my life, you know, 3 years ago instead of 2.5, this looks really different for me too. But the good news is I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for the long haul. And here's my phone number. I want you to put it on speed dial, because if something ever changes in your life, or you ever need a friend or a shoulder or whatever, just dial that number and I will be there. And, you know, people all of a sudden, take a big deep breath. That pressure isn't there. And you know what? More often than not, they call a lot sooner than they would have had I not approached it like that. There's, it isn't about us. And you can't take any of this personal, and you need to know, just like Eric said, just like Lynn Hagedorn says when nobody showed up to her basement, just like I knew when nobody showed up and I was talking to my cat, the right people are going to show up. But you have to be happy with where you're at today in order to invite the abundance in. If you're not happy with where you're at, nothing more is going to come. Until you're happy with your 1 cycle, you're never going to have 10. Until you're happy with 2 people showing up at a launch party, you're never going to be happy when the room is filled and you have people, parking down the street. But none of this is about you. If you're truly in this to love and serve and care for people, then you should never feel sorry for yourself if things aren't going your way, because just the right person hasn't showed up yet. And, somebody else is waiting. I promise you, the right ones are coming, but you're going to attract whatever you are. And so if you're having this big poor me party, you know what? If you do attract somebody, it's going to be another pity party, poor me person. And honestly, that's not going to build you an empire. You want people that are so lit up from the inside out that, swallowed rainbows and have this uncaged passion. And that's all I had. That's it. I had uncaged passion and a burning desire that no matter what, no matter who talked what about me, I was going all the way, and I was going now. Are you coming with me? And, some did. And some called me 2 years later, gosh, darn it, I wish I had jumped on that train when you said, let's go. I said, you know what? The train's still moving. Let's go. And, it's just your attitude. I mean, if you get all pissy, you're going to have pissy people in your life. So just be that light and show them the way. I promise.
I'd love to chime in on this just a teeny bit, unless Cindy, Janie, do you guys have something you want to say right now?
Well, what I would love to say is that, so often I feel like the people that do really well in this business are the ones who are steely mentally. I mean, they're tough as nails. I mean, Lauren, I remember when I was working closely with you, and if somebody shut you down, you were on to the next person. You didn't miss a beat. And the people that can really manage their emotional state and not go too low with disappointments and not go too high with excitement, they're the ones who really can stay through the long run. And what I noticed too is, because I did some calls with some of the leaders today, is that the people who really, just like Tracy had just talked about, who don't give about what anybody else thinks and just go, those are the ones who are so strong in themselves and they soar. But be able to manage your emotional state, and then to bounce that quickly from any sort of adversity. So the people who balance quick and are tough, it's huge. I mean, so you really have to be able to dial in and get strong emotionally and mentally with this business, or you're not going to do well.
If I could add to that, one of the greatest compliments I ever got was from David Wood, actually, in Chicago. And this is exactly, because I think people think if they care about people, then they should care what they think. And the compliment he gave me is, Tracy, you care so deeply about people, but you don't care what they think about you. And if you can wrap your brain around that, you can care deeply about people, but not be knocked back on your heels if, they don't give you the response that they want or whatever. It's okay. It's not because you sucked. It's not because you said the wrong thing. You can never say the wrong thing to the right person. And it may be just not the time for them now. But if you keep that beautiful spirit alive, they're watching you, I promise you, even if they're not texting you back and if they're not watching, they're stalking you on Facebook, honestly, waiting to see if you're going to stay consistent or if you're going to stay in the game. Because quite honestly, let's be real. If they're going to enroll with you, and I mean, health and weight are very personal subjects. So, if they're going to share this with you, this experience, and link arms with you, they want to know you're going to be around for the long haul. So a lot of people won't respond because they see you're all liquored up on excitement in the beginning. They want to know that 6 months from now, you're still going to be there if they choose to do this. And so a lot of them, especially the smart ones, are watching. they're sitting back wanting to know, if I'm going to jump in this party train, I want to know that I got somebody who's going to have my back for the long haul, and not just because she's all excited and up on Ionics right now. And it's true. It's really, really true. I had people that were talking crap about me, and then 6 months later, they're like, all right, you've proved to me you're sticking around. I'm ready. I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's go. But if you get all pissy, you know what? You're going to prove them right. Because a lot of them are just calling your bluff a little bit. To be honest with you, they're seeing if you're really as excited about this and as passionate about it as you say you are. Because if you are passionate about it, then you can't be knocked back on your heels. You can't be worried about people saying yes or people saying no, because it's not about you, you know?
There's a really cool parable in our scriptures that talk about, this rod of iron that people hold on to. And as, the storms come and the clouds come and the fog comes and, you can't see your way anymore, how do you get your destination? Well, you get your destination by holding on to that rod and never letting go. And I think in our own businesses and lives, we have to be that same way. You have to come from a place of knowledge. Tracy's done so well because she knew where she was going. She knew. She didn't think. She didn't just want. She knew where she was going. And so because of that, you're not riding this emotional roller coaster where when somebody quits, you fall. When somebody does great, you rise up high. And I've done that. I mean, I'm super, super empathetic. So I was riding that roller coaster with people, and I can't anymore. I know where I'm going. I always have, but I had to kind of cut those strings and just stay in my place of knowledge and not emotion, because I love people. Like all of you love people. You want to help people. But you can get so caught up in their emotions that you fail with them and you rise with them, and you can't. So come from a place of knowledge and just hold on to that rod.
And the last thing I'll say about this is, and this is really, if you write down anything that I say, write this down. You cannot take credit for anybody's successes. Like, I will never take credit for Trisha's success, even though I was there, the one who brought her the box. I will never take credit for her successes, but equally, I will not take responsibility for somebody's lack of it. Those are all choices. It was Trisha's choice to take this and run with it. I was just supporting her. If somebody doesn't have success or they choose not to do something, that isn't a reflection of you, and you can't take it personal. So, don't, say, hey, I enrolled her and I did all this work and I mentored her. Like, no. Trisha did the work. I was just there. I won't ever take credit for that. However, I won't also take responsibility, like she just said, like if she gets emotionally involved and gets into a funk, that's again, her choice. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, and that's just with anything. That's, whether somebody does this or doesn't do this or, says they're going all in and then doesn't, don't take it personal. It's not about you.
So I want to just say one quick thing and then go to our last question, and then it's probably time. I know we could probably all talk for hours and love on these people, but people have things to do and it's late on the East Coast. But what Janie was saying, about being fearless and about having that like resiliency or whatever. I mean, that was true. And a lot of Jessica Rigner, she's cross-lined to me and became a good friend. And I remember her like texting me these things, like what people had responded to her, judging what she was doing, or when someone returned a box, and I would just be like, why do you care? And she was like, what do you mean? Like, why do you not care? And I was like, because I would rather focus on everybody else we can help. Like, that's 1 out of 100. Like, why focusing there? And there was this demeanor that I had, or this posture. But it started because of how impactful Isagenix had been in such a short time in my life, that like one person wasn't going to derail me and one person wasn't going to stop me from figuring out the other people that could benefit, because in such a short amount of time, I had seen all the benefits. And Eric Hoover had said to me, Isagenix will bring out the best in people. And I was seeing it over and over and over, that the one person that happened to react to it, right? I was like, well, people are allergic to peanut butter and I could eat a whole jar. So it's not going to work for everybody. But like, I'm gonna let that person return. I'm gonna move on, or the same people. Is that one of those things? I wasn't gonna spend time convincing them, because like Tracy was saying, the right people will be there. The right people will show up. And I was gonna miss out on the ones like going, hello, pay attention to me, if I was trying to fix the one person that was judging what I was doing. But when we were talking about like what you're thinking and how you're feeling is what's gonna show up, this is what I was first wanting to talk about. And this is actually the 3rd time. So one of these nights I'm probably going to cry actually saying it today about what was happening. But for myself, I never really felt like I was stuck. I mean, there's things I had to learn. And I think, going from 10 cycles to 20 is one thing. Going from 20 to 60 is a whole nother. Going from 60 to 100 is a huge leap, right? So they're not necessarily why I've been building this business and trusting the process that I felt stuck like I did this last 90-day game plan. And when I realized what was happening, I had just come back from visiting these girls on the East Coast. And when I was chatting with them and seeing their passion and their, new builder excitement, like my why hit me like a ton of bricks again. And it wasn't new, but I had lost it because I had gotten so focused on recognition or ranks or some stupid stuff. And I let some person really get in my head and fill my head with noise, right? I mean, what does Lisa DeMay always say? We can't let people fill the space between our ears. And that had happened. Then I had 100% lost sight of like the service piece, the contribution piece, the fun factor, the excitement, the joy, helping others. I mean, my mindset was in somewhere else and doubting everything I did. And after spending time with these girls and realizing how impactful I can be to other people and that this was just the start of something amazing again, I came back and I started reading all my journals. And when I first got started and I had $17 to my name, and I was miserable and I had so much self-doubt, Janie said, I want you to write out 10 things that you're grateful for and start to do this every day. And quickly I realized that when I thought I had nothing, I had way more than enough, and there was things like I only had $17 to my name and I didn't have a furnished apartment, but I had an apartment. I had running water. I had shakes. I had a cell phone. I had a car. I had a lot of jobs. There was these things, and over time that shifted. And so when I came back and I'm reading these journals 2 years later, and like she said, imagine your life. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what is wrong with me? Like I am doing people a disservice because I'm in my own way. I'm totally in my own way and I'm not helping people. And in 2013, I mean, I enrolled an obscene amount of people in December, so much that Isagenix said, do a podcast on this because people don't build in December. And I just did that again, you guys. I mean, in all transparency, 100%, I didn't enroll a single person in the 90-day game plan. And I enroll 3 to 5 people a week. I mean, Janie and Cindy will tell you that. Nobody. And I just created 2 pirates, 1 consultant, and 16 enrollments in 2 weeks. And that's with what's inside. So for the girl who just asked me, like, in the text message, like, what's happening? Why are people moving away from you? I was repelling people. I mean, people, my own enrolling, who were running away because I had stopped making it about them. And I'm sharing that with you because that's the biggest thing is like when it really is about service. And like Tracy said when she did her call, if you do all things with love, you can't screw up, and you go back to that place in this gift, like everything changes. And even though it's the people that you might be talking to are not reaching out, new ones come up out of nowhere. I had 4 random people out of nowhere message me on Facebook. I have no idea who they are and how they know me, but my energy was different, like your thought process is different. So I was talking on our team call right before this that like you have to work on yourself first, 100%. I mean, Tracy's smiling and she'll be the first one to say that. I mean, she did the hard work, like taking off the mask and being vulnerable. But if you're in that place, like you got to face yourself dead face in the mirror, eye to eye, 1-to-1. And like, where are you incongruent? Where are you like disingenuous or not having authenticity or something? Because people can feel it even if they can't put a name on it. So the last question that I got in a text message was, how are we sharing like for people to build that don't really want to build the business, but say, yeah, I'd like to help my friends. Like basically, how are we creating consultants on purpose with people that don't want to be business builders? They don't want any part of the business. They don't want to sell anything, but how are we able to inspire them and motivate them to share?
Well, guys, one thing that I tell people when they start is I show everybody you plus 2, them plus 2. And the way I introduce it is I'll say one of the things that I love best about this amazing company is the whole marketing plan is designed to help people get their product free if you want to. Can I show you how it works? And they'll say yes. And I'll say it's called you plus 2, them plus 2. And then I quickly go through it. This is not building a business. I tell people that. A lot of people will get freaked out like, oh, I don't want to show that right from the beginning because they already told me they don't want to be a business builder. They don't want to build a business. That's not building a business. That is helping people order smart and get their product paid for and creating them a support community, because we know that people are going to have better results, enjoy the process, and have more fun if they have a support community and people in their life doing it with them. So that would be one thing I'd say. Creating consultants is not helping launch somebody's business. Getting them to consult is not launching their business. It's just creating a support team for them and ensuring their success and helping everybody make some cash back on their product. It's a win for everybody.
How I do consultants, and I mean, a lot of you guys, I think I talked about this on my call a few weeks back, was the 14-day talk. It's setting expectations of what's going to happen to them, because a lot of people are scared. I was scared when I started Isagenix. I didn't know what the heck was going to happen to me. And so setting that expectation, you know, and the consultant on accident is, listen, oh my goodness, without even trying, by day 14, your girlfriends are going to be looking at you like, what the heck is going on with you? Your butt looks fabulous in your jeans. Or your spouse is like, this is the person I married. Or your kids are like, Mommy, we're not running out of the room when you show up because we know you're happy all the time. What are you drinking? You know, and without even trying, people are going to start noticing what's going on with you. So please just open up your mouth and share this beautiful gift with them. You know, and that's kind of like, that isn't building a business. That's just sharing something we love. And I always go back to the Lululemon pants. I mean, Lululemon, if they had a binary compensation plan, I'd be a gazillionaire, because the number of times I recommend, you know, a certain pair of Lulu pants because it makes a 40-year-old butt look like a 20-year-old butt. I mean, I share that because I love it, not because Lulu pays me. But, you know, that's how we need to talk about Isagenix and not make it so weird. And it's like, listen, you're going to fall in love with this. I promise you, by day 14, without even trying, people are going to notice regardless if you want it or not. Because this girl wanted to hide in her Isa closet and lock that key forever and let nobody in. But without even trying, people were like, what's going on with you? And so all I say to you is, you know what, invite them into our Facebook group. Just share what you're doing and let us love on them. And, you know, like Cindy said, the best success and the way to ensure success is to have accountability. And that doesn't mean like, you know, somebody micromanaging you. That just means you have a support system and some of your biggest fans cheering you on. And I promise you, I would not be here today, almost 3 years later, if I didn't have the fan club that I did when I first started. And, you know, you don't make it weird. You don't say sales and you don't say business, because that freaks everybody out, you know.
And you guys, one of the things that I love to say, and Hillary Courtney was talking about that when she was in like an ICU or something, and she said when she talks to people and says, you know, when they're filling out their form, and she's kind of watching them fill out the form, and she said, hey, let me know if you're interested in hearing about, you know, $150 rebate that the company shoots back at you. And then it takes you out of the thing where you're telling them, here, you can do this, this, and this, and they feel like they're being sold, to, you know, just, hey, let me know if you're interested in hearing about this $150 to $370 rebate that the company throws back at you. And then I'm quiet. And then they say, oh yeah, I definitely want to hear about that. And then you pop it out to them. But then they're asking you, and it's a permission-based conversation rather than you saying, oh, you can do this, this, and this. If Cindy would have come to me with that, I would have said, no way, I'm not interested. That sounds crazy. I just want to get healthy. I want to feel good. I want to get some great energy. And the other thing too is that, like Tracy was saying, you're going to end up with amazing energy. So you guys, if I would say one thing, it's just do the products tight. Get that amazing result, because when you've got that great energy and you're lit up, you stand out and you shine like a star. When in a dark, depraved, crooked world, you shine, because most people are dragging, and they see somebody lit up. And people, my weight loss story was not great at the very beginning, because I didn't do it very tight, but I was lit up, I was excited, and I had amazing energy, and everybody came, they wanted it. So it's that whole energy thing again, you guys. I can't stress that enough, how important it is to have that vibrant, amazing energy, and to bring it when you're out and around people and share that with people. It's important.
It's so important. I think one of the things, Janie, too, you used to always tell me is be obsessed with getting my people paid. And I know this is a little bit different, because the question was like people that don't necessarily want to do the business or the opportunity, but part of, like, you know, I think us as leaders is getting people to do uncomfortable things or scary things, like Tracy always calls it. And that's our job when you go back to that Imagine and that lifestyle, to coach them through those steps. And so, you know, relating to them, like people are like, you know, I don't want to do the business. I am always like, I didn't either, but I didn't know that this was possible. And this is what I've seen. And going back to the storytelling, and I start throwing out other people's stories. I'm like, but this girl's a teacher on our team. who makes an extra $10,000 a year. I mean, that is incredible for a teacher. Think about a teacher's salary. You know, well, this is what happened to our massage therapist. She didn't want to do the business either, but now if she gets sick and doesn't do massages for 3 days, it doesn't affect her. She's not worried about, you know, a rent bill going or something, but to try and help them and then get them to just think about what that would feel like and saying, you know, I know a lot of people don't want to do it because they think it's a lot of work, or a lot of people don't want to do this because they don't want to be a part of this industry, but using words like rebate and referral and making it comfortable and just saying, you know, think about who wants to be healthy with you or who could you help. Imagine if someone didn't share this with you, and making it in a really relatable way and just coaching them. Like, I literally sometimes will type out their initial Facebook post, or I'm like, you know, here's an email I sent to people when I first got started. Feel free to make it your own and do it, but giving them exactly the script that you want them to use or the verbiage, because then they're not having to do the work and then they're excited. And Janie was like, if you get someone to make, you know, to consultant, if you can get someone to manager in 90 days, they're never going anywhere. And I remember Travis Garza saying that if someone makes $500 in their first 90 days with Isagenix, we have a 94% retention rate. And I was like, I got to make sure everybody makes $500. I got to make sure everybody makes $500. And, you know, in different verbiage and different ways to say that, I mean, I think that people can get inspired as long as we don't make it weird. So if anybody wants to hang up, leaders, mentors, or callers, if we're past time, but I did get one more message. So if anyone wants to stay on, I'm happy to stay on. But she was basically just saying she's got a team that is starting to go 0 to 60. You know, she was not going to do the business, didn't want to do the business, and now she's got some managers, a lot of personally enrolled. She's creating consultants, and she's asking how people are managing their teams. Like if it's a whiteboard, how she's managing her leads, how she's using different systems in terms of like calling people, following up with people, their rank advancement bonuses. So just some organization tips. If anybody wants to chime in on that, and then maybe we can sign off.
I went from 0 to 60 from about day 10 or so on, once I did my first Facebook post, and it was very difficult. It was challenging, and I was like, how am I gonna keep up with this? There's no way. And one of the things that I was doing in the beginning, which I touched on earlier, was, you know, I was having hour-long conversations those first few calls. You know, limit yourself to a duplicatable conversation, you know, sharing the 30-second story. I kept a piece of paper, one notebook, and my map to Crystal Executive. Like those were the two things. I had a notebook in front of me to keep track, you know, of people that I've talked to or needed to follow up with, and my map to Crystal Executive right in front of my face. And honestly, you know, just keep it super, super simple. Like, because the more complicated you make it, the more you won't be able to keep up with that. It becomes administrivia, which doesn't produce income or grow your team. And you're just going to get overwhelmed. You're just going to get overwhelmed. So keep it simple. Find a system that works for you that's simple. And if, especially if you're just starting out, you keep that map to Crystal Executive at the forefront. So when it gets hard, you just look over, you're like, okay, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this. And if you've got a team of go-getters, you have every single one of them fill that out too and put a date on it. And let them be, you know, take charge of their journey. Like, I know in the beginning, because I was so new and so many people were starting in the beginning, I physically couldn't do it all for them, but I was duplicatable. So I'm like, here, this is what I did. I printed out this little piece of paper. I put a date on it. So you do the same thing. And that lets them empower themselves. That's not you leading their way. I mean, you're there for support, but if they want this, they've got to do the work. And it starts with that roadmap. And it has all the tools. It has the days. It has the rank advancement bonuses. They know. And I did, like at 30 days, I put the date. It was like, you know, April 23rd of 2013. I needed to hit that by, and then 60 days. And I put those dates there. So when it was getting close, you know, empower your people to take charge. Empower your people to use the tools. You aren't the tool, but you are the one to show them the tools. And, you know, you keep your list and you use the tools and you show them the tools. You don't give them answers. I had a girl just this week. She hit Crystal Executive, and she thanked me actually for never giving her the answer, but showing her the tools to empower herself and let her find herself along the way in a way that was authentic to her. She didn't have to be a cookie cutter Tracy O'Malley, but she used the same tools I use every day, the same tools Cindy Hedges uses, the same tools all of, the leaders on this call use. Don't feel like you have to take responsibility for everybody's journey. Just show them the way, show them the map, and then let them run for it. And again, don't take credit if they go all the way, but don't take responsibility if they don't do the work either. You can do what you can do and be duplicatable. If that helps. I hope that helped.
I'm not an organized person, and I'll tell you, I think not any one of us, I think, are these really, really organized people like Alexis Romano and Susan Sly. I think we can be raw there, but you have to find what works for you. And I know some people on our team use Excel sheets. I know some people are using different contact managing systems. Just because I'm around some stuff right now, I can show you, but my notebook, probably much like Tracy described, and I literally have people's names, a number, an email, where I met them, if I've messaged them, if I've text messaged them, and I have like a tally of basically how many times I contacted them. So he says, like, how do you know you contacted me 11 times? I was like, because there were 11 tallies by your name. And that's a text message, that's a Facebook message, that's an email. So I literally, because I've been recruiting a lot, I have this lady down. I was like, Kim works at the kickboxing salon, met at the nail place, and then I'm like, oh, sent her a welcome email, sent her this, and I just kind of go through this. And then I have a couple of them as kind of each 90-day game plan. And my whiteboard that's behind me, the first thing that Janny ever taught me is what you think about, you bring about. And so I have who I'm enrolling, my prospect list, consultants, manager, director, executive, 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, and just the names of those people that's where they're going. So I can pray over them. I can pray over their business. I can think about it. I can put energy there. I kind of have an idea of who's where. And so I know in different threads or different conversations, who are the people really going to that next level. I'm not saying this is the right way, and I've failed forward quite a few times with this. And I used to have just packs of business cards and sticky notes and receipts from places of where I got people's numbers, and I was like, oh my God, who are all these people that I drank too much wine on Saturday night and I don't know where I got their numbers? That I'll put people in my phone and a note by them. And I just did this. I was like, Tara, met her at the bar, she took my pump class, and then I can put it into my notebook. But you have to find a system that works for you. But just know, you want to be able to go back 3 months from now, 6 months from now, these people that said no to you and the timing wasn't right, and you're going to have to remember them. And if you can have something that's personable and say, hey, if you remember, I met you at the nail salon, you asked about the nutrition program I do, I realized, you just had a car breakdown and you were moving, it wasn't a great time. However, we're getting ready to kick off this amazing New Year challenge, and I thought about you, I'd love for you to participate. The fact that you can remember all those things about them, they're already excited because you cared. You remembered the details of why it didn't work or where it is. So I'm not an electronic person. I definitely am a paper person. And then the advice I would give for that is, a calendar, and a really good calendar. I block out all of our major core events because I know that that's going, and I use an online app. Some people are more paper with that, but some of you have seen it. I can even try and pull this up and show you. It's called Calengoo, CALENGOO. Hopefully I can try and show you a day. But I have it. Can you guys see that at all? So it's color coordinated, and I know what's an event, what's a 3-way call, what's a 1-to-1 meeting, what's a group fitness class. For me, and some days are busier than others, but when Eric Worre says, if you don't have a full calendar, you don't have a business. And if you want a business, you have to have a full calendar. So I do a text message blitz at the beginning of every month. Hey, long time no chat. Hey, let's catch up. Hey, let's go work out together. When can we grab coffee? Let's go to lunch. I haven't seen you in forever. When can you come to dinner? And I fill my calendar because, again, it's just conversations. And I'm not going to coffee with a catalog and an enrollment pad and hi, ready for your president's pack? But you're connecting and, how was it? How was your Christmas? Where'd you go? We're on vacation. And inevitably they're going to be like, okay, what are you doing? Why do you look like you're so happy on Facebook? But my organization for sure is my calendar. When people ask me, can you do a 3-way call? I send them a screenshot of my calendar. So a lot of times I'm on the phone and I can't text back, but they can see when there's an opening. I do this with Jamie. She's on the screen right next to me. She's like, okay, I'll take your 3. I'm going to take your 3:30 or whatever. And know that Hillary Courtney and Holly DeMont use online calendar scheduling things, like Schedulosity and some other programs that they block out the time they're available, and their team can just go in and schedule their 15-minute or 30-minute 3-way calls. that didn't work for me. My schedule changes all the time, you know, and I didn't like that, like thinking I was open and then be like, oh my gosh, now I have 3 calls and I'm like in the middle of the mall. That didn't work for me, but that does for some people. So again, like, I mean, this is the cool thing about owning your own business, is that there's no right way and there's no wrong way. But I know Susan Sly teaches an amazing Organizing Your Life class that's been helpful for a lot of people. And I definitely think that if you're an electronic person and not a notebook person, investing a few dollars a month into a contact managing system, a lot of people like that because it'll send you reminders. You can literally, like, if you put someone in, I was playing with Salesforce for a while. I didn't like it. A lot of my team is using it. But like Tracy's day 14 talk, like here's day 5, here's day 14, here's what, like you'll get the reminder in your phone. So if I just enrolled Trisha, right, today I could put in January 10th or 11th or whatever, you know, day 5 call for Trisha, and I'll like get a pop-up. I'm like, oh, I have to call Trisha, you know, on January 10th or something. That doesn't work for me, but it's worth investing those things if you are someone that wants that, if you are someone that's more electronic. But I would not overcomplicate this, you know, just keep it simple. And like Tracy says, as your leaders start to manage their teams, I mean, there's no way Janny and Cindy and Tracy, I mean, think about where Janny and Cindy are. I mean, they've got hundreds of thousands of people in their downline. They can't manage Tracy's team. They can't manage Tanya Patrick's team. They don't manage my team. They're not managing Trisha's or Betsy's team or Jill Bowman's or any of these people, right? And so the quicker you can get other people to manage their teams, I mean, the faster you're going to duplicate. Anybody else?
I just want to say, I mean, I just love you, Lauren. You are such a dynamic, strong leader. We are so blessed to have you. I think you're fantastic. And I keep it simple. I'm like Lauren. I kind of do. In fact, I have my same board. I just washed it. And created it new for our next run. And I'm visual. I need to see it or I forget about it. That's why there's piles all over my office. It's such a mess. And I can be very organized about some things, but in life, I'm very spontaneous. So if you guys can take encouragement that none of us that are on the call tonight are super, super organized. We just love people and enjoy the process. You're going to find your way. So don't be too worried or anxious about it. It will all come together. And you can be completely successful in this business and not be a super ultra organized person. So that's what I would say.
Agreed.
Cindy, I have to tell us a story real fast because I'm going to leave with humor because I'm not always aggressive. And Janny, don't kill me for this. But like, I'm such a red and Janny is such a yellow. And when we worked together, right, because like the time zone and thing, and I was like, how does she not get this? Like, and she was like mentoring me, but I'm like type A with the time and she was helping me. But when she first wanted me to have the Super Saturday with Eric Hoover, Erica, I hope you're still on the call. I can't see if you're still on here. And I'm like trying to figure out like when I'm picking them up from the airport and if they're coming at the same time with Eric. And, you know, this whole thing is my first event. I have no idea what it's like. And I have Janny and Eric coming into Denver. And I'm like, Janny, when's your flight? And she's like, I don't know. I can't find it. And this is the night before. I'm like, Janny, I'm like, when am I getting from the airport? She's like, I don't know. I'll let you know. And she calls me back. She's like, I haven't booked it yet. I don't think I have one. I'm like, it's tomorrow. Like, what? And she's like, don't worry about it. She's like, I'll get our flight. And I'm like having this anxiety attack that like literally 12 hours before I thought she was supposed to be here, didn't have a flight. And she, I mean, if you guys looked at the leadership stuff, I mean, she's like the top 10 income earner. And it's because she loves people and she has so much fun and you can borrow her belief and she memorizes these brilliant nuggets, but like, it's okay. No one has to be perfect. And I mean, just to remember that. So I love what Cindy said and it's very realistic. You know, she just has a really great time. So you guys,
and if you ever travel with her, bring an extra bag because chances are good you're taking home half of her product for her.
So true. It's so true. Oh my God.
Oh, that's good. That's awesome.
All right, you guys, thank you for a fun month. Happy New Year to all of you. Hope to see you all in Dallas. And thank you, Cindy and Janny and Tracy and Betsy, when she listens to this from the bottom of our hearts. Like amazing, amazing training from all of you.
Love you guys.
We love you guys. Mwah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.